Welcome, everyone. My name is Dave Dugas, President of DE Systems and myConferenceSuite.
My name is Karen Bernicke. I'm part of the support team here at DE.
My name is Bob Gordon. I'm the lead developer and vice president of software at DE Systems.
So welcome to myConferenceSuite. Part of this video is going to be a little bit of onboarding and a product tour to help you get up and running with your event management platform. We're going to start by sharing screen. And we're going to walk you through the platform right from the start. So once we give you your username and password, you're going to log into a very straightforward page that looks something like this. Your user account may be associated with multiple clients. If you have multiple clients, multiple organizations that you're using the platform with, they will all show up here. For this particular user, they're associated with 2 clients. We're going to look at the MPI Ottawa client. And we're going to start by clicking on projects. This is going to bring up the current active projects for the platform. You can view past projects by using this toggle at the top left rather. And you can see all the projects that are associated with this user account. The box gives you a quick snapshot of the event name, the event ID, the total number of registrants confirmed and completes. We're going to look at demystifying the behind the scenes. So once we click on this, we move into the event dashboard. The event dashboard has a left navigation, a top navigation, some search functions, some charts, links to the front-end public page on the right side, and then later on we'll get into discussing the virtual portal a little bit. Bob, why don't you take us through modifying the event, this particular button and its sub-navigation items. What are some of the things we can do in here?
Well, the nice part is that this area is kind of an overview of just general settings for your event setup. In the general settings tab that you're on right now, this allows you to do certain activities like selecting which languages your event will be available in, defining the event name. And part of that event name is that with that event slug right there. When you type in the name, a slug is auto-generated as part of it, but you can still modify that. And the slug is what's going to be used to define how your project is set up, your event is set up moving forward. So that's going to be the unique identifier for your project in particular. We have some basic information in there as well, like for email contact, and then start and end dates for when the registration takes place, plus when the actual time frame is for when registration will start, and not just when the event takes place.
Sorry to interrupt. That's a really good comment. So a lot of our users call us and they'll say, or they'll email us and say, "Oh, I want to change the registration end date. I want registration to stay open a little longer." Great thing about this is that users can come in to the modify event, and in the general settings, they can actually change that date themselves.
Right, and you're bang on, Dave. I mean, we do get that feedback. Oh, what happened? Why is my event closed? And it's just based on some simple settings that can be adjusted by anybody with the administrative ability for your event. There are some few other options that we have. The products available for the project. You're only concerned with registration for your setup, and inactivity settings. Inactivity settings is an interesting thing. By default in the system, we have an inactivity timer when somebody's on the registration form, and that's set to 15 minutes. And that's just a good practice that if somebody's starting the form and then they forget about it, kind of kicks them back to the main registration page just so they can see that, oh yeah, you know what, this is where I am, this is what I'm doing. You can disable that if you want to remove that option, or you can change the duration of that by inputting the number of minutes in that box. Some other nice features are, if you happen to have more advanced tracking requirements and you're familiar with Google Analytics, you can input the relative tracking ID for your GA setup, and that will be used across all the registration pages for your setup, so that you can see, how your registration is faring in your typical GA dashboard. There are some additional administrative settings here, but that's usually for how you kind of control going through your setup. Redirect to the registration edit page instead of going back to the main list when you're making some other options. Do you want to show a sidebar? Not. Do you have any coupons? Yes or no? And do you want to shut down the event? There are some more advanced features here, which is the passcode to protect the website. So if you're running a private event and the link is available, you can actually put a passcode on the registration itself, such that in order for people to register, they have to input the proper passcode to continue. And you can make that on just the registration form itself or the whole site. If you want anybody who wants to view the site itself, your microsite, you can put the password protection on the site, or you can just put it on that registration form. That option is totally up to you.
I guess you could use that during the testing phase as well, right?
Absolutely. The nice part is that there are some more control features, and if you actually are logged in as an admin, you kind of skip a couple of those steps, so you don't have to keep going through them every time. But for the regular user, they would definitely have to see that. They would definitely go through that process.
All right, let's quickly look at the reg settings, the registrant settings. Do you want to walk us through this one?
Yeah, there's a few kind of interesting settings with the registration setup. The major one, of course, is that allowing registrations to be edited by the user themselves. So that's the enable returning registrant. And with this, somebody who registers in the system can come back, input some confirmation details, and we usually benchmark that with their email address and a confirmation key. And then they can go back in to edit specific fields that you've defined as part of the process. So this is good when you happen to have some workshop selections that come later after registration's already opened, and you want to guide people to go back and make those registration selections. There's a kind of a few other things here. Registrations can modify their registration after the event is closed. That's good for when you're closing the registration for new registrants, but you want to allow some people to make modifications. And you can define if you want to create a special key type for your registrants. Some people prefer just numeric, others prefer alphanumeric, and we give you that option there. Then we have the group registration settings. This is a great feature if you want to allow discounts on the same organization registering more than one person. So it's good for like, you buy 5 registrations, or you get one free type of an idea. And you can enable these different types of options here, and you can define how that group is associated, how it's allocated, and just by some of those settings that are there.
Very quickly, and not to put you on the spot, but we have another way of managing multiple registrations, and that's the colleague functionality. Can you distinguish between group registration and colleague type setups, and then when is each preferable?
Right. So the difference between the colleague setup and the group registration is more for the idea of group registration is every person is going to be attending the event as like the full conference that you're hosting. So every person is a fully engaged participant in that event. The colleague is for more of the additional type of personnel that would be, or your guest that would show up. So whether it's a spouse or a colleague or a child, one of your children, along those lines, where they have limited activities that they can participate in, like if there's an evening activity that you're sponsoring that's outside of the scope of the conference itself, but is a featured add-on. You can add the colleague option for people to still register for that, but not actually register for the whole conference, just for kind of individual items that take place within it. The colleague option is also good for that idea when you're having a gala dinner and you're selling tables. So the idea is that me as the attendee, I would purchase the table, but I want to add the 10 people that are going to be part of that table. So you can use the colleague to kind of set your table attendees who will be there attending with you.
That's great. That's great. Project elements. I do know a little bit about this area. I don't work too much in it, but this is where we can actually make a lot of changes to our form itself. So we could change the body text. We can change text in the header. We can change the sidebar navigation. Is there anything else of note that we should be letting people know at this in this area?
The main thing is the body tag, and that's the general content that appears on your standard registration landing page. This will be that kind of welcome note that everybody sees when they first go to access your site. And that's pretty much the overview. There are some interesting other tags here with the header and footer, and you can control more design elements by using these types of things. You can put in more HTML if you have something that's specific that needs to be shown across your whole registration site or microsite, like sponsors or reference links. And then the header is a good one too for that. And you can also have, what we can do is we can create templates for you, and the header would just pre-populate with a set of information that you use over and over and over again. And we can also put dynamic elements in there like logo branding, so that you just have to upload a logo to get a whole new look to your registration site every time you set it up.
That's great. Project pages. So
Project
I mean,
pages, yeah, this is a great tool for when you want to create more of that microsite idea, just to give the registrant a bit more information about your event. You can create as many pages as you need to, and they are WYSIWYG editors for when you're creating those pages. So when you're looking to create a menu of information, this is where you kind of start. You kind of build out your pages here just to prep all the content that you need to show.
that one didn't have a page there. All right, let's move on to project navigation.
Sure. Project navigation is coming back to those project pages. So you can start building a menu system for your site just using the project menu setup. And right now we make 3 menus available. One is for the registration microsite. The other 2 deal with the virtual portal. So you can start building out content for your virtual portal as well, connected to the registration site.
Perfect. And lastly, we've got project content. I know that, for example, we've got a button that says register, and we can change that button label to say buy ticket. Is there anything else in there that is of note that we should make clients aware of?
Right. So, sometimes it can be a little tricky to navigate through this section, but this is more for, if you're looking for something in particular. Now, a lot of the content that's in here, we make available editing directly in line on the registration pages themselves.
That's right.
There is a feature that allows you to, when you're looking at the site from the user perspective, you have that option to see what elements are editable at that time. So you can edit that stuff from the front, or you can edit from the admin. Both have a particular set of information with it.
Yeah, and if you're logged in as an admin user, you'll see a little pencil on the top right side, and that allows you to edit any of the elements in the form.
Right. Any element that is that can be modified gives you that ability right there, and that includes the header, the footer, and the sidebar menus that we saw in the project content, as well as any of the individual items like a button or like a tag, something along those lines.
That's a really neat feature, and it's great for users, for our new clients to be aware that if they are logged in, they can go right onto that front page, and if they just need to change the spelling on a piece of text, they can actually do that from the front end or the back end.
Right, and the nice part is that we support multilingual setup, so that we're not just limited to modifying that English language. If you're viewing the French pages, you can update the French text as you need to as well.
That's great. So when we look at the dashboard here, we've got our registrations by day, so we can see how many people are registering on any given day. We've got our total registrants, our confirmed registrants. Those are people who have paid. The incompletes are people that have started a registration, maybe got to the payment page and then bailed. So you can actually access those from the sidebar. We've got our active registrants, our incomplete, and our canceled. So if we look in our active registrations, We get sort of a table format, and it gives us, when the record was created, whether it's paid or not, their name, and basically all the fields that are in the registration form itself. So we can actually work with this data a little bit. We have a lot of tools available to us. So we can view and edit any individual registration record. I'm going to pull up my own record just for privacy reasons. And I could change the name on this registration. I could change the status. We've got a nice profile picture here. That's because this was actually a virtual event, and it captured our profile pics, our Twitter handles, and our social media links. But more importantly, on the right side, I could resend my confirmation. I have links to my payment page. So if I made a change to this registration and I added a payable field, I could send the user right to the payment page so that they could pay. The other important area in registration record is the invoice. Each event that we do with a client is going to generate an invoice for all their registrants. There's a lot of things that we can do with this registration or with this registrant invoice. We can edit it. We can give a 50% discount. Let's say your return policy is only 50% refunds. We could actually edit the invoice by clicking this edit button, and it will move this invoice into edit mode, and then we could put in a 50% refund. As you can see, I did it there and it's been deleted. Once we enter that, the system's actually going to prompt us that a refund is owing to this particular registrant, and it will prompt us to actually process that refund. So that's a really neat tool that's built into the system. As well, if you're dealing with a registration that just happened in the past 24, 48 hours, you may be able to void the registration. So you can do that at the bottom here. You can see the transaction information. We've got void refund options. Those are great tools that are available on the finance side as well.
Yeah, and the other thing I'd like to point out is the history tab there. The history tab is actually a great tool to see how the user has interacted with the system. And we've got two levels of it. There's the activity log level, and then if you scroll down a bit further, Dave, there's the transaction history table as well. So if somebody happens to say to you, hey, I've tried to process and my credit card failed, why did it fail? At the time, we always try to provide the best notifications that we can, but sometimes the payment gateways, they give back a bit of an ambiguous response. So as the admin, you're able to come here and take a look and see what the transaction said, if there was any issues. And you can use that information to disseminate from your payment provider or your payment gateway provider to be able to just kind of give that person an idea of what happened or why it failed. And as you've kind of shown here too, Dave, the activities are all broken down by date and timestamp. So you can see how everything has taken place. There was a new invoice item that was added. There was a breakdown of how everything kind of moved forward. So it shows the log, not just of what the user did, but what an administrator does too. So if you happen to have several people in your group working on something, it's just a good idea that you can track. On this date, someone in our team sent them a confirmation email, or at this date this person set this person's registration to complimentary, or updated their invoice. So it's a good history track to know what is taking place with your registrants.
That's great. And just to take a step back, when we were looking at the modify event area, it's really important to note that for all our clients, we do provide a turnkey service where we're going to be building out this event for you initially. We do give you the tools to do a lot of this stuff yourself. And what we're doing is we're trying to provide the best of both worlds, where you have the ability to do your own editing, even your own building in some cases, especially for recurring clients. But we're also providing you with a white glove service where we're going to take care of you from start to finish. And Karen's a big part of that process, where she's going to be, making sure that we meet our deliverables and, that we follow a critical path through this event setup. The critical path is especially important on the virtual side, and we'll get to that in a little bit. We'll take a very quick look at the field builder and the field conditions. just so people understand what they are and how we build an event. Bob, maybe I'll get you to walk through the builder itself and describe some of the key functions that we can use in here.
Yeah, sure. I mean, just to start, you see the list of fields that are there, and if you want to edit any field, like once you're hovered over in that box, you just have to click anywhere in that area that when the box is highlighted, and then you'll see two options. You'll see a pencil. When you click the pencil, it opens up an edit option. Obviously, the red delete button is the delete, but there is a confirmation window that appears first that doesn't just allow you to delete something. So there is the edit pencil. When you click that, you have the ability to modify the content for that field. So it's got the title, like you see that basic RUA, and then it's got your values. So you've got the first start with the display, and then the values, and you have the option just to keep adding values. It's pretty straightforward. You just click add value and then type in what you're looking for. And even after you've, once you're ready with that, you just hit save changes, and then the page updates with the new content.
So we've added a field here, and if I go right back into the front end of the registration, we'll see that test option show up. So it's very live in terms of the changes that are applied.
Yeah, everything is instantaneously applied. You do have more options that we could get into at a later date, but if you're looking to have control of when that field value displays, or when it's cut off, or if it has a relative capacity, or if it has a fee associated to it, there's lots of different options that you can look at for that.
So to make it payable, we just click this payable fee, and then we set the fee amounts. I believe a $ shows up next to each value.
Right. So if you click the registration fees field right beneath the RU question, we can see how that fee information looks.
Okay. The other question I had, capacities. How do we apply a capacity to any of these field values?
Right. So if you're looking to apply a cap on them, it's actually in the values area. Now you have a couple of ways that we can process this. So you can put an overall capacity just on a field, or you can put it on the actual values itself. Every area is broken down, so we can just kind of quickly skim through some of this. You've got a general. General gives you that kind of overview of, hey, can this still be modified? When is it going to display? When's the active date? When's the cutoff date? Do you want it to show whether it's available or not? But it also has the capacity in there too, at the second.
Oh yeah, there's the capacity there. And so you're saying that we can actually make this field viewable only within a certain date range?
Yeah, and that's great for the capacity, and the date are a great kind of idea for when you're looking to set that super early bird pricing. If it's based on a particular date or based on the number of people that sign up for it. Different events have different success rates on how they do it. Some people prefer the capacity value, some people prefer the date value, but it's still an option for when you're creating them, that you can have that option ready for you, the super early bird, and then once it hits that value, it gets cut off. It doesn't display anymore for anybody else.
So if I had a registration type and I had a capacity of, let's say, 100, and I wanted to change that, all I have to do is go into the event settings here and change that number.
Absolutely.
That's great. It's nice to be able to give our users and our clients the power to make these changes themselves within the form. All right. In the other area that's quite powerful in our platform is the condition. This particular event doesn't have any conditions associated with it. But Bob, maybe in a nutshell, do you want to very quickly describe the condition area?
Yeah, the condition builder has got a lot of great options available in it. And it's not just limited to like a single relationship for your setup. The area allows you to build multiple conditions on multiple fields, groups of fields, and it doesn't just limit you to this and this and this. No, it can be this or this, And in that or group, you can have, okay, with this and this and this. It allows you to have a more advanced idea for setting up how fields will display for your registrants. And it's not just for display options, it's for interaction options too. So let's say that based on a particular registration selection, like a membership type or a registration, like if you're setting up that, I happen to be this type of person, you can specify what rate they would receive. So, members receive a particular rate. You can define that, okay, well, only these fields should show, or I can say, what, if they selected this, auto select this fee, so that all these different things can happen. So auto select, or removing options, showing options. It's on the field values themselves, like the options within a field, or the whole field. You've got many control options for that.
That's great. So the other area that's really powerful in the platform is the reporting area. And I can certainly take the lead on the reporting area. I've been in here quite a bit myself. We break out reporting into two main subcategories. That's the project reporting and the revenue reporting. The revenue reporting is going to give you everything related to your credit card transactions, the amount of registrations by a specific type or item or by registrant. Let's start in the project reporting area. Now, again, this particular event is quite basic in that they didn't ask a lot of questions in the registration, but we do get breakdowns by province and state, by country. And that one question that we looked at in the field builder was, are you a planner, a supplier, or a student? Well, because we asked that question in the form, it auto-generates the report in the back end. And so we get this graphical pie chart, and we also get the metadata at the bottom. So we know that there were 34 planners that registered, 22 suppliers, and 3 students. We can actually break out that data by clicking Show All Registrants, and that will give you each of the records that fall into any of these 3 categories. Or we can filter that data, so we can actually just look at the supplier component. And there we see the list of actual suppliers that came to this event. We can export this data. Again, in the registration table, it's one thing I didn't show you, is there's this Show Hide button and this Export to Excel button. So we can show and hide any field. If we're not concerned with when the record was created, or when it was updated, or their payment status, we can actually remove those items and show those items accordingly by using the Show Hide button. And then we can click to Excel and we can export our data. In the revenue reporting, there's a lot of information here. So we've got your revenue by day, your revenue totals, your tax and your nets. But we've also got some very detailed reporting, like your all payment transactions. This is a great report for credit card reconciliation. So if you've got a payment gateway that you're using our platform with, actually that's the one area we'll discuss after this, is the payment gateways. You can reconcile your credit card merchant statements with the transactions that are processed on the system using this report. Payment breakdown report, so it'll give you a breakdown of how people are paying. If you're accepting multiple payment options like check and credit card, that will give you that information there. Your revenue by type. So again, you've got that member, non-member, and student. Those were the 3 payable types. This is the data that's associated with it. And then there's another interesting report called Revenue by Registrant by Type. And what this does is this actually breaks out each individual transaction and the items that they purchased by type. Certain groups need this report. Bob, can you remember why our clients like to have this report?
Yeah, this is just a nice summary to showcase when you have that more comprehensive event that has a breakdown of, not just the registration fees, but any of the extracurriculars that are attached to it. So like a boat cruise or a supper, But then also if there's workshops, if there's paid for workshops, those ideas kind of just give you a synopsis of, oh, you're seeing that, these are the kind of the trends that are happening, that this person paid for the full conference and is paying for this workshop, but this person is paying for the full conference, but doesn't attend a single workshop, but is doing all the extracurriculars. So it's just a nice kind of summary showing you how everybody kind of interacted.
And when they're working with a third-party accounting platform, for example, and they have different GL codes for these different items, like the T-shirt might go into one sales account, and the registration revenue might go into another sales account. They like to see that information broken out.
Right, and if we're talking about more advanced options, you can start getting into putting those codes into those field values. So when you generate the export of that report, it does a nice breakdown based on the ID of the registrant, some name information about the registrant, plus all those individual items that they purchased and the relative codes that are attached.
All right, we're going to move into the finance area in the project settings and payment gateways. One of the great features of myConferenceSuite is the fact that we can work with so many different payment gateways. We support a lot of gateways, including the ones that you see here, but we can also add a gateway so that you're receiving your own registration revenues. They're not coming through us. We're only acting as a facilitator to process those transactions. The other thing is, if you don't have a payment gateway, we do have this great partnership with a company called WePay. And WePay will allow us to get you set up with a payment gateway immediately so that you're receiving your own revenues. Really important feature for a lot of our customers. Is there any the tax settings? Bob, do you want to talk a little bit about tax? I know we have a lot of different tax structures built up for our clients, not only for our clients, but also their registrants based on where they are. Do you want to talk a little bit about some of the features that we have?
Sure. And I mean, in a pre-virtual world, a lot of your events took place in a particular location. So you were allowed, when you're setting up that, you can define what the tax rate is because of the location that you're attending. So whether that's in Ontario, Quebec, BC, you can select what the rate is for the taxes. But as we transition to a lot of these virtual events or services that are being offered, and that extends to memberships, you should really be taxing based on the location of the individual purchasing the service. So you can define that whether the tax should just be single sourced or multi-sourced based on the individual user's location. And it allows you to select that as part of it. Do you want to apply tax to the event? Yes. Should the tax be applied based on their location? Yes or no? And if it's no, you ask, where is it taking place? And then we give you a list of options. If you say yes, then we give you a table to select how the tax rate should break down based on the person's location.
That's great. And the last area in the finance settings are the discount codes. Discount codes are used all over the place. Most of our events have a discount code in one way, shape, or form. In this particular event, you've got a speaker code. The speakers get to attend for free. If you wanted to add a new coupon, it takes you through a sort of a paginated coupon code creation process, and it's really quite easy to do. So we can create a coupon code based on a dollar value, based on a percentage value. We can apply a coupon to a specific line item in your registration options. Is there anything else with the coupons that I'm missing, Bob?
Yeah, there's a couple of other options, and the line item one is a good one to start. You can apply the coupon to only apply based on a registration selection. So you can have it on the what type you are, or you can have it on a particular fee. When you set up the coupon, if you define that, it'll apply just based on how that registrant makes selections as part of the form. So you can have an auto coupon apply. There's also the ability to define a rate. So not just giving a discount, a percentage discount or a dollar discount off of the registrant's invoice or that particular item, but you can define an actual rate for that individual to have. And that's a good option for when you're selling registration rates for speakers. They should always be paying one flat rate. And if you have multiple dates or ranges for your attendance, whether it's an early bird or late or what, you want that person paying that one flat rate. So a percentage discount or a dollar discount might not work. So you use the rate in that situation.
Perfect. The last two areas that we're going to tackle are the email registrants area, and then we're going to talk a little bit about our virtual portal. We're just going to give a very, very quick overview on these two sections. We'll actually create a separate video for the email area and for the virtual portal, but I do want to touch on them in this product tour. So in the email registrants area, one thing to note is obviously each registrant is going to get a confirmation email. We decide what gets attached to that confirmation email. By default, I believe it's the invoice. We can control the text. We can add database calls. Any field value from the registration form can be inserted into the any email, actually, including the confirmation email. So for example, if you were picking agenda items and you wanted to put those in the confirmation, like you selected the 8 o'clock icebreaker and you selected the 9 o'clock breakout session, you can have that sort of that mini agenda actually exported in the confirmation email. What else are we using this email platform for, Bob? What are some of the uses our clients are making out of the email area?
Right. A lot of this is dealing with just keeping registrants apprised to the event details themselves. So if you have a registration group, like a group of people who've selected a particular session or workshop that they were going to attend, you can create a filter to email those people exclusively, just saying like, hey, this workshop was available, now we're moving it to this, or hey, you know what, the workshop time is moved from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Just so you can target different groups of people. Plus you can also do a blanketed one where you're just communicating with everybody. And that kind of starts with the list of messages and then the recipients. The nice part is in the list of messages area, you have your standard default items that are available for all communications. So, registration sign up. So the initial email communication, modify registration. So if somebody happens to modify the registration, if they need a different type of email, that's applicable. But you can also create condition filters on them too. So if you want to send out an email to group A when they register and a different one to group B, you can create a filter to modify that. And then also in the list of messages, you have your options to create your quick communications. And that's where you would target those notification emails for changes to your program or activities coming up. And you can also build out your recipient lists there, and you can kind of control them however that you want based on the registration fields that you've created.
That's great, Bob. So that kind of is a great overview of the registration platform. We've looked at most of the key elements in the portal on the registration side. I don't want to spend too much time in the virtual portal because it's a video in its own. There's a lot of features and a lot of changes to how we use our myConferenceSuite, but I do want to touch on it. So I thought maybe we could do a very quick walkthrough just to show people what's there, why they might want to be using it. Maybe we could start thinking about a post-virtual world whereby we might be using this as a supplemental to an in-person conference as well. I know we have some clients that use, what are some of the use cases, Bob, for the virtual portal right now, and where do you see it going, in the next year or two? Yeah.
So with the situation and the setup of the virtual portal, the primary use that you see for most setups is dealing with that virtual event. And the nice part about that, the portal setup with that, is that we're You can utilize streaming technologies. You can utilize external communication tools, and you can utilize recorded videos, all to kind of manage the portal itself. So we're looking at, for the virtual events, you can embed direct streams, so you can have that live feel of a real event again, just by watching the interactions take place. But it also, with the option to put in recorded videos too, we can create an idea of a library, so that you're creating an on-demand video source for you to sell education videos. People register and they select the videos that they want to access, and you can define those relationships with the virtual portal. You can say, well, this video in particular here, it belongs to people who registered for this option. And it's not just a one-to-one relationship. You can branch it out further, so that if person A buys package A, then they can receive all these different types of videos, and you define that as part of that selection. So right now, using the virtual portal to mimic the virtual, like to experience the virtual event, but also using it as a library resource. And then when we start looking at what's going to happen next, moving forward, that it's used as, the whole portal can be used as that experience, that event experience, so that you can still stream the activities in there for the users who won't be able to actually physically attend the conference. And that gives you that broader range of connectivity to registrants you never had before. So you're not just limiting yourself to those people who can make the journey at that time. You're still going to make that content available to those individuals who actually can't attend in person, so they can still get that education content. And even if you don't do the streaming, if they're recorded, those videos can be uploaded to the platform, and you can still sell that content for those individuals. Those individuals who won't be able to attend can watch the recorded sessions at their own leisure. And that also applies to the people who attended the conference. They can come back to watch the videos to keep fresh on what was being taught, or the experiences that were being shared. There are different options for doing that, but moving forward, the portal is in that position to kind of grow your base for your attendees, and not just limited to the physical attendee, but provide that educational value to the person who won't be able to physically attend as well.
That's great. Just taking a very quick look at the portal itself, in this particular event, we had a landing page, sort of a virtual lobby area where we had an introductory video. We put the main session on here, but we can populate this page with whatever we want. We can have a president's message, or we could have links to the networking functions. What drives this virtual portal for me a lot is the schedule flow. You build out the agenda in the back end using this schedule, and you create an activity, you define a time that's associated with that activity, and then it automatically gets added to the schedule. The three main types of content that we're putting on here are interactive. That might be a Teams meeting, a Zoom meeting, maybe a third-party product like Wonder. And then we've got the live stream stuff. The live stream usually is the main event on the main stage. That could be a mix of pre-recorded and live content, but that's usually coming from a streaming partner or streaming service. That's going to display in the platform with a red stream button. And once the live session is finished, we can actually host any recorded content on the platform. And then the third part is the pre-recorded stuff. So, you might pre-record a session and you want it as a standalone. The system affords you that opportunity, and there's a whole different layout for the pre-recorded content, which I can show you down here. Let's take a look at this one. So in this, we've got a pre-recorded video, we've got speaker bios, we've got Q&A, we have a resource list, which allows us to upload files and documents. But when it comes to this virtual portal, we're really just scratching the surface here. There's a whole host of features and options that we can implement to make a really successful virtual event. One of our niches probably is in the scientific and medical field. And Bob, maybe really quickly to finish things off, do you want to tell us a little bit about some of the things that you can do in the virtual portal as it relates to abstracts or posters?
Right. So the nice part is when we do submission collection, we can share that virtual e-poster idea. So, the typical poster idea that you would see at these conferences would be those physical boards that would be printed out. You would show up, you would walk around, you'd take a look at those posters, and then there would be this poster presentation time where individuals would go and stand in front of their physical poster and give you an overview of what the poster, what they learned from the poster, like just more scope of their details. But with the virtual environment, we can take the poster idea, make it this e-poster setup so that it's not just limited to, here's my board, but you can also have that individual record an overview of their e-poster so that they get a video presentation along with their e-poster findings. And we also have the options to do chats too. So, you can enable a chat feature so that people who want to view the e-poster board can send chat messages to those people who created the posters and foster this communication to get more knowledge about what was found or what the findings are in those posters.
That's great. All right, I think we're gonna leave it there. What I really want to say is I want to welcome our new clients to the platform. myConferenceSuite is increasingly becoming a very robust piece of software that's going to allow you to control, your virtual event, your live events, and in the future, your hybrid events. On the support side, Karen is sort of leading the way in dealing with the client communication. She's doing a great job with making sure our clients meet our deliverables, that we follow our critical paths, and she's there to answer any questions for you. And so I just go ahead, Karen.
Sorry, I didn't get a chance to say too much here because you guys have this down pat. But if you need to reach me or any member of the support team, just email support@myconferencesuite.com.
That's great. Thanks, Karen. And Bob, any final words?
Yeah, just, we have lots of experience with all different types of events and setups, and our many years of experience have given us that insight on, how to really move forward with finding that proper spot for your setup, taking your, a paper form and making it digital and finding that right idea of what data you're trying to collect by the end of your event. So you're not just asking the questions you think need to be asked, you're asking the questions that you need for your proper data breakdown.
That's great, guys. And thanks everyone for using myConferenceSuite.
Thank you.